Ready? Engage.
Take this! Damn it!
Don't give up yet. Decision player 2.
At ease.
Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player 2. Decision player 2.
Taking you in.
Would you like to continue? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player 1.
What a joke.
Ready? Engage.
Take this! Take this! What?
Don't give up yet.
Got you.
Decision player 2.
Call it in.
Overtime. Engage.
Fall in. Let's rock!
Don't give up yet. Decision player 1.
What a joke.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage.
Take this!
Don't give up yet.
Watch out!
Decision player 2.
At ease.
Ready? Engage.
Take this!
up yet. Decision player 2. Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage.
Take this. Take this. Take this. Take this. Take this.
Don't give up yet.
Got you.
Decision player 1.
What a joke.
Ready? Engage.
Watch out.
Don't give up yet. Decision player 1.
What a joke.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage. Don't give up yet.
Watch out. Take this. Take this.
Decision player 2.
Aries.
Ready? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player 1.
What a joke.
Overtime. Engage.
Watch out.
Got you.
Don't give up yet.
Got you.
Decision player 1.
What a joke.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage.
Take Take this. Take this. Watch out.
Got you.
Don't give up yet.
Damn it.
Decision player 2.
Taking you in.
Ready? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player 2. Continue. Max. Select location, Luna Station. This should be exciting.
This is gonna be easy.
Let's just get this over with.
Ready? Engage. Don't give up yet.
Got you.
Decision player 2.
What a joke.
Ready? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player 1.
No sweat.
Overtime. Engage. Don't give up yet.
Got you.
Decision player 1.
Next time.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage.
Bring it.
Got you.
Don't give up yet.
Bring it.
Decision player 1.
No sweat.
Ready? Engage.
Got you. Got you. Got you.
Don't give up yet. Decision player 2.
What a joke.
Overtime. Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player 1.
Good luck next time.
Would you like to continue? Max.
No sweat.
Luna Station. Age. Don't give up yet. Decision player 1. Ready? Engage.
Got you.
Don't give up yet. Decision player 2.
What a joke.
Overtime. Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player 1.
Better luck next time.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage.
Got you.
Don't give up yet. Decision player 1.
No sweat.
Ready? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player 2.
What a
Engage.
got you.
Don't give up yet. Decision player one.
Better luck next time.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage.
Got you.
Don't give up yet. Decision player two.
What a joke.
Ready? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player one.
No sweat.
Overtime. Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player one.
Better luck next time.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player one.
No sweat.
Ready? Engage.
Bring it.
Don't give up yet. Decision player one.
Better luck next time.
Would you like to continue? Agent Select location. The Sugar Daddy. There's only one winner.
Receiving new order.
Let's just get this over with.
Ready? Engage.
Disc. Lunar disc. Lunar disc. Lunar disc. Lunar disc. Lunar disc.
Don't give up yet. Decision Player 2.
What a joke.
Ready? Engage.
Disc. Lunar disc. Lunar disc. Lunar disc. Lunar disc.
Don't give up yet. Decision Player 1.
Order restore.
Overtime. Engage.
Got you.
Don't give up yet.
Got you.
Decision Player 2.
What a joke.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage.
Lunar disc. Mistake. Mistake. Hesitate. Lunar disc. Lunar disc. Lunar disc. Lunar disc. Hesitate. 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 Lunar disc.
Don't give up yet.
Got you. Got you.
Decision Player 2.
What a joke.
Ready? Engage.
Hesitate. Hesitate.
Don't give up yet.
Disc. Lunar disc. Fool.
Decision Player 1.
Flawless.
Overtime. Engage.
Lunar disc. Lunar disc. Hesitate.
give up yet. Decision player one.
Order restore.
Would you like to continue? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player one.
Returning to base.
Ready? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player one.
Flawless.
Would you like to continue? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player one.
Returning to base.
Ready? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player one.
Flawless.
Would you like to continue? Engage. Up yet. Decision player two. Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision player one.
Order restore.
Overtime. Engage. Decision Player 2.
What a joke.
Would you like to continue? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision Player 1.
Flawless.
Ready? Engage.
Got you.
Don't give up yet. Decision Player 1.
Returning to base.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage.
Fool.
Don't give up yet. Decision Player 2.
What a joke.
Ready? Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision Player 1.
Flawless.
Overtime. Engage. Don't give up yet. Decision Player 2.
What a joke.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage. give up yet. Decision player 2.
Pretty much everyone can identify an acorn, even if they don't know that it's the seed of an oak tree. But for all their ubiquity, the fact that acorns are nutritious and edible is a fact that is almost completely absent from our modern Western culture. For the forager, the acorn is a symbol of great hope. When every oak tree from the deep forest to the city park starts to light up in your mind as a source of food, the world looks different. For this video, I'll be explaining my own method for processing acorns into usable, delicious food. I live in an off-grid homestead, so I figured out how to do all these steps manually without the use of electricity and with multiple opportunities for mid-process stable storage. Because let's be honest, sometimes life is full of interruptions. I say all that so that you know that though this takes a bit of time, an interested and motivated person can totally do this process without fancy equipment. You have what it takes.
Ready? Engage.
You can find acorns as an important part of the gastronomic lexicon of many different countries around the world, from Spain to Italy to North Africa to Korea. There you can find acorns roasted, pressed into acorn oil, brewed into acorn drinks, and even cooked into a tofu-like acorn dough. On our own side of the ocean, they were a vital foodstuff to several Native American nations, but particularly those of Northern California such as the Hupa, Heros, Miwok, Pomo, and Yurok. You're probably aware that the majority of food cultures are centralized around a starchy staple crop, whether it's corn, rice, potatoes, millet, wheat, or what have you. In order for people to depend on those staples, however, they must live an agricultural lifestyle. Those northern native California communities were unique in that they were able to maintain non-agricultural lives because acorns filled that starchy staple need for the price of collecting and processing them, rather than dedicating the earth to cultivating them in one specific spot. Now, I am not hypocritically advocating against agriculture, of course, but I hope it helps you realize the potential of having a bountiful, nourishing harvest from trees that you neither need to plant nor tend. So it's certainly a super sustainable source of sustenance. Say that 5 times fast. If you're a homestead seeking self-sufficiency someday, acorns give you an opportunity to draw a significant source of nutrition from the land, adding stable diversity to your homegrown food portfolio. And even if you don't have acres and acres of land, you can still easily glean acorns that no one else wants to gain more control over your own diet resources. If more people saw the acorns that rain on the sidewalk every fall as a gift, rather than as an ankle-turning annoyance, could you imagine the impact? It's food for thought, certainly. Much more than a craft item or a decorative motif, acorns may be one of America's most underutilized food resources. Most other foods we're going to learn about are the building blocks of a diet, but acorns are the only one I've found that has the potential to be a viable foundation. So let's get into the basics of turning this nut into dinner. When I talk to people just beginning foraging, they share, without fail, their fear of misidentifying a plant and poisoning themselves. While there are a handful of plants that are dangerous, the truth is there's far more harmless or useful plants out there. And in terms of harvesting acorns, the pickings couldn't be more friendly. There's no dangerous ripple. They're the only tree nut in North America with that distinctive cap covering the top. Basically, if it looks like an acorn, it's an acorn. The only thing I could possibly imagine a foraging newbie misidentifying is perhaps mistaking a hold wild hazelnut for a capless acorn. But since hazelnuts are also deliciously edible as well, it's no threat. Now there are 2 major groups of oaks that you'll likely encounter. The red oaks, who produce oil-rich bitter nuts that dry quickly, and the white oaks, who produce more moist, slightly less bitter nuts that dry more slowly. Identifying specific species of oats is not quite as important as being able to identify the difference between red and white types of acorns. Here's some general guidelines. Red oaks have leaves with pointed lobes, and white oaks have leaves with rounded lobes. Acorns of red oaks have shells with a fuzzy interior, and acorns of white oaks have shells with a smooth interior. Red oak acorns have scaly caps, while white oak acorns have shaggy caps. Oaks have 2 distinct phases when they drop acorns, an early drop and the good drop. In some fantastically designed, inexplicable way, oak trees know what notes aren't developing well or which ones are infected with insects, and so they rid themselves of the unworthwhile nuts as soon as they can. Many of these bad acorns that drop early will be unripe, underdeveloped, or still have their caps firmly attached, which is a sure sign of a bad nut. In the second drop, that's the one you want to watch for. It usually happens sometime in October. These nuts are the good ones. At least 90% of the acorns I gather from the second drop are absolutely perfect. Now, of course, not everybody has the luxury of a line of oak trees to monitor all fall. So how can you tell the difference between a good and bad nut when they're all carpeting the ground? Good acorns look and feel heavy in your hand. They're usually a bit shiny like polished wood and have a clean-looking tan disc on the top. Bad acorns come in many forms. Here's the ones to avoid. Discolored acorns, or ones with dark spots on their sides, are bad. Undersized nuts with caps still attached were dropped early and are bad. Discolored spots on the disc are also indicators of bad nuts. Acorns with the cap still firmly attached are no good. Acorns that look withered and dull are probably last year's acorns and usually rotten by this point. And finally, acorns with little holes in the side have been already eaten by acorn weevil grubs and are only full of cracks. Though that might seem like a lot to remember, once you become familiar with good and bad acorns, you'll be able to distinguish them almost instinctively in the field as you collect them. Taking the time to try to only collect good, clean nuts will save you a lot of trouble later on. So it's worth the effort. This is a really pleasant task in the warm, early fall as you enjoy the dappled sun with acorns pleasantly kerplunking into your bucket. In terms of gathering nuts, I most heartily recommend doing it by hand. Though there are nut picker-upper type tools, they are indiscriminate and can't tell the difference between a good nut, a bad nut, a rock, or a bottle cap. Hands and 5-gallon buckets do the job best. When collecting acorns, I advise you to keep red and white acorns separated in different buckets. That way you can jump on cracking and processing the white oak acorns as soon as you can. Since white oak acorns contain a lot more water, they mold very easily if left in a heap. And it's super disappointing to put off sorting and drying your acorn hull for too long, only to discover that your entire cache of nuts is now a heaping pile of green mold. The red oak acorns certainly shouldn't be left in a bucket unattended either, but they can be spread on a single layer and easily dried in their shells until you're ready to work with them. If you can't crack and process them immediately, at least lay them out flat in a single layer somewhere where air can circulate around them. A bed sheet spread in a dry place or a few old baking pans can also work just fine until you can get the nuts shelled. Be aware that more acorn weevil larvae are going to appear as soon as they eat their way out of the nuts. Even some good-looking nuts are actually secretly host to little grubby nut destroyers. Don't worry, the grubs aren't harmful in the least, and they can't reinfect other acorns, and they don't bite. All barnyard poultry will eat them with relish if you give them as a treat, by the way. Be aware that these grubs' sole desire is to get back into the ground so they can pupate and reinfect next year's crop of acorns. It might be best to dispose of them somewhere far from your choice oak trees.
Don't give up yet.
There are several options when it comes to cracking loads of acorns. It can be as simple as smashing them open with a hammer, layering them between 2 towels and whacking them with a mallet, or as sophisticated as buying a specialized nutcracker for the purpose. I heartily recommend the Dave Built Nutcracker as a huge time saver. It's hand cranked, it's made in America, and it's built to last. It's a solid tool that you'll be able to pass on to your kids. It runs close to $200, but I can personally attest that the time and effort saved made it worth the price within our first season of harvesting acorns. I do the bulk of my sorting after cracking the acorns. Separating the nut meats from the shells is a good activity to do with a friend in a conversation, some good music, or a group of competitive children. But once they're cracked open, the good is super easy to separate from the bad. Any that are moldy, had clear evidence of being nibbled on, or were covered with dark spots can go into the chicken food or the compost bucket, and all the tan, waxy, nice nut meats can either be dried for later processing or moved on to the next stage. If you find that a lot of your fresh red oak acorns look good but just aren't coming out of their shells, save yourself some frustration and dry them longer. Prying red oak nut meats out of the shell is incredibly frustrating, but they'll simply drop out of the shells if they're completely dry. Now while sorting, you'll find lots of test dust. This is the dark brown papery coating over the nut. Some resources say that you have to remove every trace of the testa to have tasty flour, but I found that it really doesn't make a difference. Now that pile of cleaned nut meats should be dried until they're rock hard and moved on to the next stage of processing. They can be stored for a long time. During years with a very heavy acorn crop, you can actually stock up on nuts to give you a cushion for when there's a poor crop next season. So at this point, Either put your nuts into secure
Engage.
storage or move them on to the next step, leaching. Leaching is the process of using water to remove the bitter, water-soluble tannins from the nuts and make them palatable. It is possible to eat a single acorn raw with no ill effect, but I don't know if you'd want to repeat that bitter experience. There are 3 types of leaching: cold leaching, chemical leaching, and hot leaching. I'll only be detailing hot leaching here as it's the most beginner-friendly and yields results quickly and satisfyingly. Now, hot leaching acorns is simple. Put the acorns in a pan of water, heat it to boiling, drain off the dark brown water, and repeat until a sampled nut no longer tastes bitter. You can do this on a conventional stovetop during a rainy weekend,
give
but
up
it's a
yet.
lot easier and uses a lot less energy if it's done on a wood stove. The various species of acorns take anywhere from 3 to 10 water changes to have a sufficient amount of tannin removed. You'll have to judge for yourself when they're ready. When they are,
Decision,
they taste
player
sweet,
2.
somewhat maple-like, and not at all bitter. Then you can consider them done. Some resources say that you need to wait until the water
Ready?
runs clear, but it's not necessary.
Engage.
Taste is more important than looks. Now that your acorns are leached, it's time to turn them into flour. You're almost there, hungry forager. My method is to run the damp, leached acorn meat through an old-fashioned hand-crank meat grinder. They're really easy to find in the antique market or at a thrift store. The one pictured here was only $4. To spread the damp nut meal back on a cookie sheet after it's being ground and allow it to dry completely. If you have that wood stove, place it at the base and stir it occasionally until it's bone dry. This will take 2 days or so. You can also do this in a dehydrator or in a conventional oven at 170 degrees Fahrenheit until, again, it's bone dry. Just whatever you do, don't rush it. If you store this flour even slightly wet, it may mold, and then all this hard work will end up in the compost pile. The end result should be a very coarse, dark brown flour.
Decision, player
It can be
1.
used as is or be run through a flour mill or a coffee grinder to produce even finer flour for baking. Either way,
Overtime.
you can now store it in an airtight
Engage.
container and use it at your leisure. You can think of hot bleached acorn flour in a vaguely similar way to cornmeal. With no gluten to hold it together, it won't form a springy bread-like dough on its
give
own.
up yet.
But don't let that stop you from experimenting with eggs, mixing it with wheat flour or some other starch, and just seeing what can be done to let it shine as an ingredient in its own
Decision,
right,
player 2.
rather than just an inclusion. Taste-wise, acorn flour is nutty, earthy, sweet, and somewhat reminiscent
Would
of
you
maple
like to
or
continue?
molasses. The hot leach method results in a very dark brown flour that will give a pumpernickel-like color to whatever you mix it in with. So with all those factors in mind, let me share some ideas on how to make it into delicious food. Acorn bread. The rich, dark color and flavor of acorns are excellent in all types of bread, from sourdough bowls to ginger snap flavored dessert breads. You'll have to include some other flours to get the dough to be workable, but I heartily recommend you at least add a cup of fine ground acorn flour to your favorite recipe and see what happens. Acorn porridge. I
give
think
up yet.
porridge deserves much more time in the limelight as a delicious breakfast sandwich. Simmer a cup of coarse
Player
acorn
2.
flour in 2 cups of water, or make a 50-50 mix with coarse ground wheat or other grains for a nourishing start to the day.
Ready?
Add a pinch of salt, a handful of
Engage.
raisins, or a knob of butter, and you'll make it something really special. Acorn pancakes. Served with a side of wild berries and a drizzle of home-tapped maple syrup, you can prove to both yourself and your breakfast guests that wild food is the best food in the world. You can also try acorn coffee. Roast it until fragrant and simmer for 15 minutes. Coarse ground acorn flour can be brewed into a rich, coffee-ish drink that is comforting on its own and delectable
Decision,
with sweet and
player
spicy.
2.
All this is just a tiny sampling of all the possibilities that await the home cook with a jar full of acorn flour.
Would you like
I
to
want to offer
continue?
one more suggestion for the homesteader looking to utilize wild food to its full potential.
Engage.
Acorns can be a great feed supplement to many of our animals. My ducks, my chickens, and goats have all relished eating acorns and acorn grubs in the fall. The ducks and the goats can handle them raw and unshelled as they fall from the tree, but my chickens have needed them smashed before they can get the nutlings out. I have no experience of feeding them to other livestock, so my knowledge is limited to the effects on cows, sheep, or horses.
Don't give up
Although I
yet.
have heard about pigs really enjoying acorns too. All the same, acorns
Decision,
offer
player
another
2.
self-sufficient option to the homesteader looking to provide for their animals.
Engage.
Freeze. Freeze.
Don't give up yet. Decision player 2.
Gotcha.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage.
Freeze.
Don't give up yet. Decision player 1.
What a joke.
Ready? Engage.
Freeze. Freeze. You want this? Freeze. Gotcha. Freeze.
Got you.
Don't give up yet.
Got you.
Decision player 1.
What a joke.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage.
Punk.
Don't give up yet. Decision player 2.
Sucker.
Welcome back, y'all. So we have a
Engage.
really good one for you today. A gentleman sent us a pair of John Lobb double monk straps, and what was supposed to be just a simple resole is not a simple resole.
It's supposed to be just sole, heel, reuse blocks, get out the door. And when we started looking at them, we noticed that the welt was pulled away. And then we noticed that as we got to the next layer that we had to replace the insoles because they were just completely waffled. Then we got to the next thing and realized that the welt that where it goes actually to the upper where the welt goes through was completely like ripped.
Don't give up
So in
yet.
other words, these shoes were completely and
player
utterly
2.
shot. But we didn't charge the customer full boat for this one.
You're under
We just wanted to have some
Would you like to
fun.
continue?
So we actually called the guy and said, you know what, we're going to take care of it.
Ready?
We just want to show a
Engage.
awesome video for all of you folks.
And sometimes if we get a good video, we're like, hey, we just get a good video for y'all.
Yeah. So we decided to do the works to this shoe, and we hope you'll stick around and enjoy. But before we go, before we show you the works, can you show us one of these, please? Hit the subscribe button and just show us some love and help us to know that you are looking forward to this video.
Don't give up yet.
All right, y'all. So as Trent mentioned, the John Lobb double monks, he got them second hand, and they're kind of all wonky just based on the previous wearer's foot. That is kind of something you need to watch out for when you buy a second hand pair,
Decision player
especially if you're welted, but a lot of shoes will do it. If it's got a leather footbed, it will form to your foot.
Ready?
And if you get it and
Engage.
it's different from the guy before, it'll form to their foot and not yours. but we can take care of that. We're gonna do it on this one, and we're gonna get a little bit creative with this. Now, I'm gonna get the top left off. You can actually see that this is blind stitch. And while I take this off, for those that don't know, I'll explain. A blind stitch means just that the stitches are invisible. They're actually hidden underneath the leather. And we're gonna do the same thing, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Don't give up yet. Decision player 1.
What a joke.
Would you like to continue? Engage.
All right, for those who aren't familiar with shoe construction or signs of a high quality shoe, a stack leather block is simply a stacked block. It's leathers, it's layers of leather, there we go, vegetable tan leather that are all stacked on top of each other and pretty flimsy. So you put them all together and they're glued and nailed.
Don't give up yet.
But it's not just
Decision player
one chunk
1.
of plastic or wood. They can be, but you
Ready?
know, it's just not the best.
Engage.
Stack leather, that's the way to go. I would expect no leather.
All right, so while I take the sole off, I'll tell you a little bit about this particular shoe. So the gentleman who bought this shoe was, he didn't know much about it, like so it was secondhand, and so
give up
he
yet.
reached out to John Lobb. And as it turns out, most
Decision
shoes
player 1.
have a code. You know, like a lot of things, you can look at the code and it'll tell you what year it was
Would you
made,
like
maybe
to
what factory it
continue?
came from, you know, if there's multiple factories. But with John Lobb,
Ready?
they actually had changed to a
Engage.
new system. And the lady who the customer was talking to, she wasn't familiar with the old system. So good customer service coming from John Lobb, a lot of companies would just be like, well, we're not really encouraged. She said, let me go find the answer for you. And went and tracked down an old timer who was still working at the factory and very familiar with the old system. And it turns out that these were made in the early 2000s. I think he said around
Decision player
2001,
2.
2002. But yeah, good customer service coming out of Lobb. Don't know if y'all can hear that, but it is raining really
Give up
hard
yet.
outside, so you may or may not be picking that up. All right, so here's the inside of the shoe. We've got to remove the shank, and as you can see, it's all warped to the other guy's foot.
you
That's not
like
going
to
to be comfortable if you
continue?
put your foot in there and go wearing it all day. So we're going to have to replace this.
Ready? Engage.
All right, so we've marked where we want everything to line back up when we put the new one in. We need to know where those marks are to go.
All right, so
Don't give
here's
up yet.
where we're at. Once we get the soles off,
Decision player
started
2.
looking at the insole, and we were going to replace the insole anyways. We
Ready?
noticed that the rib was pretty
Engage.
shot, and even worse than that, the upper, where the welt actually stitches through the upper and then through the rib, was completely like switch trees. What that tells me is that the shoes have been done numerous times. They've even sent back to the manufacturer to have them redone. And every time you send it back, even the manufacturer can only Goodyear welt a shoe so many times. Hand welting's a little bit different, but a machine is
give up
holes
yet.
through it, and where that upper just turns to shoes. And that's what we were facing with this. So we had to make a little bit of modification. Actually learned this trick from a shoemaker in London. And
Decision
so this is what we
player
had to do. And you can see where the stitch line was, and we
Would you
basically
like
just
to
went through
continue?
and we cut it off right at the stitch line, because the stitch line is tucked up underneath anyways, you don't see it. And so that's a good place. You don't want to go
Engage.
above it, or else you're going to see it afterwards. So we've got a piece of calfskin and calfskin lining, and we skive those down paper thin, and then we tuck it up in between the upper and the lining on the inside. And
Don't give up yet.
for quite a while until it really bonds in. It's not coming out. So what that does is it now gives me a fresh 2 layers of
Precision
leather
player 1.
that when I stitch the welt on, the needle goes through and it's gonna hold it. And all this is gonna be tucked. You won't see it at all once the welt's on. And we'll show you what you mean as soon as we put new welts on and we put it on the new insole. Okay, so we have got the new insole in here, and something that's a little bit different that I decided to do on this one, just to add a little extra security because we're having to modify the upper, is I went ahead and when I put the new rib in, instead of just using like a 1-inch strip canvas that goes around, I just did the whole thing so it wraps around and it can't come unglued and shift because either way it pulls, it's adhered to the leather that way it falls. So this is something that's kind of often done.
Don't give up yet.
Okay, so I'm gonna re-weld this
Precision
thing,
player 2.
but since I had to add an extra layer of
Black people really like me a lot.
I get more black people on my show than you do for
it's
sure.
That's not even-
molded,
I-
but
let's-
it's adhered to the form cover that is molded. I'm not gonna start at the end, like the back end on one side or the other, and just welt around. I'm actually gonna start at the toe, do one side back here, go back to the toe, and then the other side. That way, there's no shifting, and the original will stay exactly the way it's supposed to. So let's re-welt this thing.
Don't give up yet. Precision player 2.
Sucker.
Would you like to continue? Engage. Don't give up yet. Precision player 2.
So now that we've got it welted, we don't need this extra leather.
Ready?
And when the shoe was being made, it actually wound up looking like this. Actually, we pass it over and weld it through, and then usually the machine will come cut it off when it's by hand. But it served its purpose here.
Don't give up yet. Precision player 2.
Sucker.
Would you like to continue? Ready? Engage.
All right, so you see we've got the shank inside, and let y'all know, a lot of times these need to be replaced, but if they're in good shape, then we're going to reuse them and metal shanks in there. But a lot of people don't like metal shanks because they do add a little bit of weight to them. The old reason was, you know, people say go through metal detectors.
Don't give up yet.
Things the way they are now. Make it good and plain. we're gonna use the same ones that Lob put in.
Gotcha. Punk.
Decision player 1.
What a joke.
Ready? Engage.
Freeze.
All right, so the reason why we didn't put the call back here is that he actually wants to have a little bit of a fiddle built in. And so this is actually going to be replaced with a piece of leather. And then we'll start stacking our leather pieces up, and they'll get smaller and smaller until there's a ridge. So that's what this little piece is. It's going to be the filler and the base and the core.
Don't give up yet. Decision player 1.
What a joke.
Would you like to
All
continue?
right, so we've got our layers of our fiddle stacked up, and we have to scav them down. I've already actually scaved the one up underneath, and so we got 1, 2, 3 layers. So we're gonna scav this one down to match the sound of this one, and then we're gonna have to make this height by cutting this one out.
Don't give up yet. Decision player 2.
And we'll kind of get it smoothed out a little bit, but the idea is to have a transition, and then you've got this ridge
Engage.
that'll allow the soul to curve around it.
Freeze.
Don't give up yet. Decision player 2.
You're under arrest.
Would you like to continue? Engage. Don't give up yet.
Gotcha. Punk. Freeze.
Decision player 2.
Gotcha.
Ready? Engage.
Punk.
Don't give up yet.
Okay, so we're gonna start building the hill
Decision
now,
player
and
1.
there's 2 ways of doing this. You can either just start getting layers and layering it up, or you can actually
Overtime.
use a split
Engage.
brand, and it's just a strip of leather. It's actually kind of more the traditional way of doing it. And since the peel is kind of concave, you have to take up different angles, and it's kind of a 3-dimensional thing. So if you take a piece of leather, you scab it down this way,
Don't give up yet.
it's like a horseshoe to make it a little easier. You just cut out little notches.
Freeze. Gotcha. Punk.
Got you.
Decision player one.
All right, so this is what it looks like once you
Would
put
you
it on.
like to
And it's
continue?
thicker on the outside, it's tapered, but this is curved down this way. So if you actually look at it from down,
Ready?
it's a lot flatter
Engage.
than it would be if you just got a piece of leather and sat it down. If you did that, you'd actually have to like sanding or cutting off the middle portion. So now we can actually take our leather and start stacking them up.
Don't give up yet. Decision player two. Decision player two.
You are under arrest.
Ready? Engage.
All right, so we are almost done with these, but we have to put some decorative pill packs in here to complete the
Don't
bottom.
give up
A
yet.
little bit more water relaxing in the soles, and get them shined up, and we'll be done. Using a little compass like this makes the whole ride easier for spacing.
Gotcha, punk.
Decision player two.
Gotcha.
Would you like to continue?
Okay guys, so it's